for you. We have got one of the soups of the reggae world. Kicked it up earlier this year, put out another single and then kicked it up again. The guy we got on stage, he's got the looks, he's got the charisma, most of all, he's got the voice. Ladies and gentlemen, please make some noise for the super duper Lloyd Brown!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, depending on which time zone you're in and which part of the world you are at. My name is Lloyd Brown. I'm a vocalist, songwriter, music producer, videographer, and all-round top geezer. I'd have to say that music and me has been inextricably linked across my entire life. And the main reason for that was that Mr. Rupert Wilberforce Brown, my dad. Music would basically permeate throughout the whole Brown household every Saturday and Sunday as a form of relaxation after my dad and my mum finished a hard week at work. My dad would be in the beloved living room playing secular music on a Saturday, and my mum would be in the kitchen cooking a big pot of soup. And that is basically the given standard form of relaxation in a lot of Afro-Caribbean households in the UK around that time of my childhood. And it was my father's love of music that has shaped me to be the artist that I am. Rupert Wilberforce Brown and my mother, Lurleen Louise Brown, basically centered me into my appreciation for music and my love for people. As a youth growing up, that was a perfect foundation for me. But then when you grow up and you become an adult, a lot of things change. And as a result of that, there's few ways of expressing yourself in a universal way so that people can embrace what you're saying in an uninterrupted fashion. And for me, music was that. I have a lot to thank my father for, because he introduced me to Jamaica, August 1977. That was my first taste of going home, as it were, and my real first taste of reggae music in the spiritual homeland of reggae music. And that experience has never left me. In my school years, I always wanted to become a doctor because for some strange reason, I just liked the sound of Dr. Brown. It just had a nice ring to it. And I always wanted to be in a position where I was helping people get better, making things all right. And in a way that has never left me, because I always want to try and make things all right, try and make things good but it doesn't necessarily end that way. My career in music started in 1982 when I joined a band called Sweet Distortion. And the unique thing about Sweet Distortion was that the youngest member of the group was younger than Kelvin Grant from Musical Youth. We was performing around the same time as they were, and when they had to hit Pass the Dutchie, there just wasn't enough room for any other youth bands at that time, you know, and they broke out and they broke big, obviously. But we continued performing live. We kind of got into the business backwards, where we would actually be performing first, performing a lot of gigs first, and then embark on our recording career afterwards. And some notable shows we did do. We appeared with Aswad at the recording of their Live and Direct album, which was shot at Meanwhile Gardens at Nottingham Carnival. We toured with Eka Mouse. We had a stint with Prince Lincoln, Sugar Minor. We performed with Gregory Isaacs at the Academy, that famous gig that he did. We eventually met up with Musical Youth at a couple of gigs. And then after that, embarked on a recording career. We recorded around a couple of singles. One was called You Make Me Smile, which was written by our drummer, Basil, at the time. And another track called Stepping It Lightly Down to Brixton, which was somewhat of a dub poetry thing. It was written by a lady called Evelyn Marius. And our claim to fame was that it got played in a John Peel show. You know, we literally waited like till around, I don't know, early hours of the morning for him to feature that track. And that was my highlight around that time, you know, having one of our songs played by John Peel. You know, it wasn't until 1987, after the band broke up, and it wasn't anything acrimonious, it was just time for growth. So it wasn't until 1987 that I was approached by a gentleman named Robert Theron, who's better known as Ribs, the owner for Unity Sound System. I recorded 3 songs with him, one being Music Medley, the other being Ring Up My Number, and I can't remember what the other tune was. The Lovin' Me, that's it, The Lovin' Me. And they were more or less airplay hits for me. And I was really grateful for that. Just for the fact that my tunes were played on radio at that time, you know, community radio or pirate radio back in the day. And I was thankful for that. It wasn't until 1990 that I was approached by a producer named Junior Frost, AKA Oxygen Man. He's no longer with us. And he asked me to cover a song called Sharing the Night, which was originally recorded by Dr. Hook. But I distinctly remember the Delroy Wilson cut because that tune was played regular. And I remember asking Junior, oh, the Delroy Wilson cut. He said, no. I want you to record the Dr. Hook's version. And I didn't remember hearing that version. I think the only song that I remembered from Dr. Hook was When You're in Love with a Beautiful Woman and Sexy Eyes. Those were the only 2 songs that I really knew from Dr. Hook. So when he played me their version of Sharing the Night down the phone, I said, yeah, no problem, let's do it. And I think it was the week after we went to, I think it was around the week after, and I went to Progressive Sound Studios, which was owned by Patrick Donegan, who was a member of the band Reggae Regular, who had a hit tune with Where Is Ja? So it was his studio we went down to, and Matthew and Fluxy were the musicians on the session, and Don Ricardo was the engineer. And we just banged out the song, just banged it out, quick time. And I never thought anything of it. I just thought, well, you know, the least it would be like an airplay hit, and I'll be glad for that. And that was it. The next thing, tune was released, shot up to #1, and the rest, as they say, 26 albums later, is history.
that some of you might know and some of you do know. But either way, share it with me. You're looking kinda lonely, girl, with your life. Someone you can talk to. I'm feeling kinda lonely too, and if you don't mind, then I'll sit down there beside you. The sex of banging. And if I seem to come on too strong, I hope that you will understand. I say these things because I know if you're as lonely, lonely, lonely as I am, sing it for me, baby.
Would you mind sharing the night together?
Sing and make me give. I'll tell you what, raise the tempo a little bit.
That's one thing me and my brethren DJ Barney has in common. We love tea. I would drink tea all day. You know what I mean? It's just something that keeps my throat supple. That's why my vocals are so silky soft, man. So how did we, myself and Justin Pinnock, meet? Well, it was by way of my YouTube video on my channel. Now, as well as putting up music videos and stuff like that, I like to feature videos about music production because back in the day, I never had that resource. The only resource I had was literally just walking into studios and watching people work. Not even be allowed to even touch faders and stuff like that. But now, in the digital age where things are made more available to us, you know, we have YouTube and we have Google and we have a whole heap of resources and information to hand. So me being an artist, I wanted to feature that aspect of myself so that people can see that it's something worth getting into if music production is your thing. And what I wanted to put across on my channel was the fact that my last 17 albums, I literally produced them on a Windows 2000 machine with an i2 processor with 2 gigs of RAM. That's unheard of in this day and age, but I made it work. So I just wanted to show people that if you've got a machine that's even got 4 gigs of memory and an i5 processor, which is more or less the standard, that you're more than on your way to becoming a music producer. So in showing that, I wanted to basically, you know, give tutorials in showing people the plugins that I use and the plugins that I enjoy using as well. And TuneTrack Easy Keys was one of those plugins. And as a response to that tutorial, I got a reply from Justin basically asking me if he can send some material to my email. So he asked me for my email, gave him my email address, and he sent me some stuff. And he asked me what were my thoughts, and I came back to him and I gave him a constructive critique. And then I said to him, send me some more. Let me hear your progress, as it were. And he did. And one of the tracks that he sent me was a track that featured a John McLean sample. I think, what was the track? Say You, that was it. Say you, girl, It will be my invitation. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da, with my love. You just can't go wrong. That tune there. And he done it on a drum and bass track. I was like, huh? So is that you? Anyway, I asked him to send me some more stuff. And when he did, and I heard his productions improve, I said to him, I want to make an album with you. Because it just felt the right time. And the music that he was making literally just occupied my headspace from then till now, you know. And I said to Justin, yeah, make we do an album. Make we do an album. And that's how it started. And you know, he started sending tracks back and forth, and asked me, you know, what do I think? And I think what happened was that I think he sent me around 6 tracks at first, and we had demos for them, must be around 3 weeks or a month or something like that. And those tracks kind of served as the nucleus of the album. And I was producing tracks on my end as well. But the workings was just so fluid, because it was like, he would send me something and I'll say, well, yeah, that's great, but lose that, take down that, you know what I mean? Brighten up this. And he got it, and he's like, he just went and done it. Some people, it takes a little time for them to kind of overs where you're coming from, but then that's what he liked about me. He liked the fact that I was just straight. I just told him straight what I like, what I didn't like, what we need, what we can keep, what we need to lose, you know, and that was a factor within our working relationship, and that's what kept the thing fluid, you know what I mean? And working with different genres from my end, and him working with his genres with a reggae artist, was the difference that we both had that kept the project exciting, you know, I have to say.
Burke. I was born in Birmingham, UK, now based in Rotterdam, Holland. Started making music when I was 15, 16 years old. Started on Cubase, the first version, on the Atari ST. This is a setup I'll be working with on productions for 2021. All of the tracks were made with this laptop here. Mac out of 2008, so it's quite old. I got in contact with Lloyd after checking a vlog of his on YouTube. I think it was an Easy Keys vlog. After that, I sent him a few tunes just for some feedback, and Lloyd got back to me and said he'd like to invite me to work on the album. So that's when we started like sending like little ideas back and forth, and then like within the first 2 weeks I think we had something like 6 demos, and then after that we just started tweaking. The process of making the album was kind of interesting due to it being online, sending stuff like ideas back and forth. Then eventually we just made the choice, and bulk of the album was, I think it was done within like the first 2 months, and then after that we just started tweaking. A breakdown of the track Weekend Producer. The original beat was called Nice Up the Place. 808 bass. Kick. Kick 2. Low clap. Hats and clap. Percussion layer. Triangle. Percussion hit. Bongo. Open hat. Drum roll. Weird effects. Dub effects. Vocal chops. Snare. Eight to eight snare. Vocal effects. Laser effects. Whistle effects. Background noise effects. Dub vocals.
Bullet up selector. Lego this one, yeah.
Evolution strawberry guitar. unfiltered guitar. Session horns. Session horns layer 2. Korg M1 piano skank. Saxophone stab. Me and Lloyd on all the productions. We got George bass on the bass, and we got Walter from Portugal to do the mastering.
So how did me and George meet? Well, Georgiev, aka George Bass, that's what I call him. We met via his wife, Maria, who works as head of operations in Jetstar. And when I mentioned to her of my progress in the making of this album, in letting her know that, well, I'm going in a different direction, she recommended her husband to me. And I asked her to send me some links. The first link I got was to a YouTube video where George was playing an upright double bass to a French lullaby. And I just saw the way he was playing and the look on his face to know that he just felt at home, you know? He just felt at home holding that bass, playing that bass. And then there was another video that I saw, and he was playing like a rockabilly style. And I thought, all right, bit of versatility here. And the second link that I got for George was, I think it was on his YouTube channel, and it was under the guise of Phantom Inc., which was his band that he formed with his brethren. So there's only two people in the band, him as a bass player and his brethren as a drummer. And they had a track called Man.
I'm gonna sing this melody first, then I'm gonna write a song, 'cause you're only gonna be judging me on the first 30 seconds long, 'cause you're the man.
when I watched the video, straight away, I had an idea to do something on that rhythm track. And it was in the vibe of Run DMC, Aerosmith's Walk This Way. And in order to present that track as part of the album, I decided to create a skit around it. But then all of this I had in my head before I even approached George to even ask him if I could even sing on the track. So I had asked him and he graciously accepted my request. And I worked on the track. He sent me the stems, which is a mark of respect between producers, let me tell you. It's like if a producer sends you the stems of his track, that means they hold you in high regard, absolutely, you know? So I was more than aware of that gesture.
So we're in Collindale. This is the famous Montrose playing fields. Grassroots football, grassroots tennis courts, and we also have a flock of tropical parrots that moved in here a few months ago during lockdown. Unfortunately, we can't sing their songs right now, or we can't hear their songs right now, because they've probably gone for a real daily flight. You know, they've got to do cardio as well, I guess. Right, so yeah, this is part of Collindale, one of the glamorous parts of Collindale. We actually filmed our last video for my band Phantom Inc. We filmed it here during our daily jog. In I believe it was in March sometime when we filmed the video. Quite inspirational. Do watch it. It's called Gentle Elevation if you get a chance. This is our river. Silk Stream. Marvellous. Quite dangerous. It's very deep. I wouldn't go in it. So this is where I spent most of my time in 2020, and this is where Man was written, the song that I wrote for Your Covered, Phantom Inc.'s EP in 2019. I have to say I was quite chuffed when Lloyd Brown expressed his interest in the song, and I was very, very happy to send him all the original stems for him to do a remix of, and actually he pretty much wrote a new song, which is great. And yeah, looking forward to hear the final product. But our relationship, our collaboration started before that in March 2020 when Lloyd Brown asked me to record some bass lines, to try and record some bass lines for some of the new stuff that he was working on. And he especially kind of liked the crazy synth bass sounds that I mucked around with, that I've come up with over the last couple of years when I had time. Something like yes, some of these crazy sounds that I mucked around with over the last few years when I had free time, which I had loads of in 2020. But yeah, it's been great working with Lloyd. Looking forward to hear the album. All right.
So I recorded my stuff on it, and then recorded the skit, which was based around a talent competition, an audition for a talent competition. And I got my good friend Julie from Calgary, Canada, to do the voiceover, and her granddaughters to do the voiceover as well.
So let's do that again. Okay, so Saddle Dome and Stampede Park. Hi, my name is Julie, aka Jules, and I come from the Caribbean island of Antigua. 18 years ago, I used to listen to a radio station called Rhythm 365, and it was a Tony Williams creation, and they used to interview artists, And one day, one of my friends from New York said to me they're going to be interviewing Lloyd Brown on January 10th, which was 2003. So I said, okay. And he says, yeah, you got to be there. And I said, I don't know who Lloyd Brown is. And so he said, do you know the Columbus rhythm? To which I said, nope. And then he said, okay, you know the song Come Down Father by Barry Salmon? I said, yes, I do. And he said, so Lloyd has a song on that same rhythm called Main Squeeze. And I said, oh, okay, I like that song. I'll have to be there. And so I came to the interview, and my question was one of the questions that ended the interview. It was the last question, and we became friends after that and stayed in touch. So how was I involved? I know that this is not the first project that I've been involved in with Lloyd. I'm also the mystery voice on the Brownie Points album, and what else? And I did some behind the scenes stuff with Against the Grain, which is my favorite Lloyd Brown album, by the way. So because I have been on other projects previously, Lloyd asked me if I would help him out on this upcoming Untitled album, and I said yes. I was asked to do a skit in which I was pretending to be a judge at one of those, I don't know, Whoever's Got Talent contests. And so that was really the part I played. So I got the script, and I read it off, and then my granddaughters were asked to do a few things as well. And so we did, and sent it all off to Lloyd. But in the meantime, before all of that happened, I asked him, well, what do I need in terms of a program or even equipment to do proper recording? So I purchased the, what's that microphone called? Blue Snowball Ice. Cheating. Okay, Blue Snowball Ice. And then I also downloaded the program Audacity, so I was able to send the WAV files over to Lloyd for him to do whatever he needed to do to put the track together. So I am what you would call a Lloyd Brown fan. I love his music. I think he puts out quality music. He's a perfectionist. If you're looking for someone that you should have in your collection of reggae, rock, soul, whatever genre, he kind of covers the spectrum, and he's a great artist. I'm always impressed with what he does. No surprises there. Like I said, he's a perfectionist. That if there's a good artist that you would like, you need to have him on your radar. So once again, one and only Lloyd Brown.
My name is Zoe.
My name is Damika.
I'm 5.
And I'm 11.
We are from Canada.
Calgary. Also Jamaica and Anguilla.
It's paused, right?
Nope.
No.
How do you know Uncle Grandpa Lloyd?
It's actually Grandpa Lloyd.
When did that happen?
About like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, so it's just a combined grandpa and uncle? So it's
Yes.
now Grunkle? Okay, I will say Grunkle. Okay, so how do you know Grunkle Lloyd?
Well,
Off the internet. I'll just say that.
and we just like met him and just like
Oh, Nicole.
knowed him. Yeah.
You know him through the internet
Yes.
Yes.
and on a call.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so what did Grunkle Lloyd ask you to do for his album? And then it's like demonstrate.
So he sent us a script and we recorded our voice and read off the script and said the stuff that was on it.
Okay.
And
What did he want from you? What did he want you to do, Zoe?
He wanted me to laugh.
Yeah. And what else? There was something that you said that he wanted you to say.
he said,
Yeah, man.
and we also said, this has been a Rhythm Works and Just in Time's record production
Yes.
together.
Yes. I'm sorry. Cheers. Bye. Bye.
Okay, the last question is, what do you want to say to Grunkle Lloyd?
I want to say thank you for everything.
Thank you for letting us be on your album.
We're back.
Yeah. And
Cheers. Bye. Okay, bye.
That's how that track came about. But I also need to let you know of Phantom Inc.'s version of Rag and Bone Man's Human. Awesome track. Awesome track.
Maybe I'm foolish, maybe I'm blind, thinking I can see through this and see what's behind. Got no way to prove it, so maybe I'm lying. But I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't put your blame on me. Don't put your blame on me. Take a look in the mirror, what do you see? Do you see it clearer, or are you deceived? And what you believe? But I'm only human after all. You're only human after all. Don't put the blame on me. Don't put your blame on me. Some people got real problems. Some people out of luck. Some people think I can solve them. Lord heavens above, but I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't put the blame on me. Don't put the blame on me. Don't ask my opinion, don't ask me to lie. The beg for forgiveness, making you cry. For making you cry. Cause I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't put your blame on me. Don't put the blame on me. Yeah, some people got real problems. Some people out of luck. Some people think I can solve them. Lord heavens above, but I'm only human after all. put the blame on me. I'm only human, I do what I can. I'm just a man, I do what I can. Don't put the blame on me. Don't put your blame on me.
So it goes without saying that George and also Justin are more than welcome in the Rhythm Works family. Absolutely. You know, there's going to be some good future works coming from Rhythm Works, including those musicians, as well as my pool of musicians in the Rhythm Works band. That you can be sure. Oh, and also at this point in time, I've got to give mention to none other than Walter Cuellar. Walter Cuellar, man. Yeah, he's been my mastering engineer for the past, how many albums? This must be the 17th album. I'm sure this is around the 17th album that he's mastered for me. Genius, absolute genius, you know, and he's a bit of a shy character. You know, he's not a camera friendly dude, let's just say, but what he lacks in that department, he surely makes up for in his mastering skills. So here's a little bit of a clip of his mastering suite in Portugal, which I affectionately call the Starship Enterprise.
Lloyd Brown, just in time. One of those extraordinary social media collaborations. Now I tell you, organic. You never expected this, did ya? Ain't it? Curveball me up in gear. Yeah, been up on the old school thing. Oh, you're 59 anything, but can't deny anything. One shit no more, you got a bus and you straw. Instead of free regurgitating rhythms all the time. Cool blimey, getting carnivore without the feet. Nudge, wink, sign a walk, make the length of the track. Captain Ray, blah, blah, blah. With them diggy, minds full of yow. I got no beef with nobody, just tell it like it is. You can take it all you want, you can take it as it is. They say your fish tank is too small for me. Whenever lakes and oceans, the job for me course and swim. I'm going in, no need to cover me. You will only smother me. I love it when the music hit me. Hit it. Whoa. You know it makes sense, bro. Check me out. Hit it. You know it makes sense, bro. Check me out. Whoa. You know it makes sense, bro. Check me out. Yeah, I know what to make of this, do ya? Ain't it? I think of something for ya. Yeah, bit it on the hip hop thing. Still I carry this thing. It's a Lloyd Brown thing. You keep sitting on the fence. You get splinters in your ass. Time to make a move, y'all. Leave the past in the past. They say that procrastination now is the thief of time. Remove all the shackles that reside in your mind. Don't make nobody try to rule. You got the power and the energy. See what you send is what you get back. Who with the positive and negative? Don't let nobody in your life. Illuminate, never bright. Yes, you know that I am right. Full time we make that. Day one or one day. Day one or one day. Day one or one day. Day one or one day.
Great job, Walter. Great job as always, mate. Nice one.
What can I say about Lloyd Brown? Artist, been going for a long time, lots of albums. Yeah, man is seriously dedicated to the music, which is what you need kind of nowadays for today's industry. First met Lloyd around 2004, 2005. I was on a station up in Luton, and I just joined the station, and I was keen to make a stamp, and I thought I need to do some interviews. And one of the interviews that came to mind was Lloyd Brown, because I thought at the time he was kicking out a lot of tunes. And yeah, prolific in the reggae field at that time. Yeah, so I got him in. Well, actually, we done it via a phone link, a Skype link, at that time, and it was only meant to be a 15-minute interview, and it ended up being the best part of an hour and a half, if I remember rightly, because we just got so into the music, and you could hear the passion in what he does. He feels it. So I'm a musician myself, and yeah, could totally relate to that without a doubt. So yeah, we became good friends after that. Kept in contact. I didn't actually get to meet him until quite a few years later. There was an event going off in Hackney, and I remember he was on the lineup. Along with some other artists from here and Jamaica that were in town, and yeah, went along to represent one of the artists, and met the man himself. Tall guy. That's the first impression I got. This guy is huge, but was serious. You could see the man was serious about what he was doing. Get the rehearsals was all done, and everybody was ready to go. So, to let the man get on with his thing, really. But I brought a cameraman with me at the time, and I remember Lloyd was very interested to find out who this person was walking around with a camera, and he made it clear that he needed to know what was what. So you can tell from those kind of actions that he's serious about his career and where it goes and what material's out there about him and all the rest of it. So getting back to it, I started to dig more into his catalogue. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of albums. I always recognised the fact that he was always bringing out music. And when I started to dig into some of the albums, I started to realise that, he's quite a soulful soul as well. He can go into areas that a lot of artists don't really venture into. So that was always interesting to me. From that point, I just thought, well, let's continue, to keep the friendship going and, find out more and so forth. And yeah, we got talking, and he's a very funny guy. That's all I can say. A lot of people, I don't know if people really understand how funny he is. Even though he's very serious, he's hilarious. At times, some of the conversations that we've had over the years has just been hilarious. Seriously, gut-wrenching, just doubled over in laughter. But yeah, again, like I said, the man is serious about his work. Now, I wouldn't call him a reggae artist. I would just call him an artist, because you know, like any artist, you know, you paint pictures, and it doesn't really matter how it's dressed up and what frame it's in. You're painting pictures. That's the way I look at music. So it made sense, you know, for him to delve into different genres, which is really, really nice, really nice touch. Like I said, you know, when you've got the capacity to listen to music outside of the normal or your normal genre of music that you might listen to on a daily basis, if your ears are open to other stuff, it's quite amazing. That you listen to, you know, everything from, you know, jazz to blues to rock to whatever takes your ears. But you know, Lloyd is kind of he always appears to be not experimental but adventurous. He's not scared to adventure, and I like that, definitely. I mean, I always say it with albums, especially when you're doing albums, you want to paint those pictures, and you know, you don't want it to be too straightforward. You know, you like to come at different angles, write from different angles, and you know, his angles of writing is always interesting, and the harmonies and the way that he constructs everything, it's always been on point, always very clear and precise, you know, so it's legible to any ear, you know, not just, you know, one type. It's listenable to anybody, which is obviously a great appeal, obviously universally, especially as we're in the business. The business has to be what it is. As much as we love it and we're passionate about it, it's still a business, and you got to try and make your way through the best way you can. So, you know, I always admire artists that are not scared to dig deep within and try and, you know, explore other avenues where they can mentally go, you know. Like I said, you know, I've met him on a few occasions, and even go down to the studio and sit and chat with him, and you know, play some guitar and kind of just chew the fat really on a regular basis, which used to be really good, you know, before we were in the current situation that we're in now. But it's always interesting to sit down and talk to artists and producers, you know, directly to get more insight. And there's no better way than getting an insight to an artist or producer by putting an album together. Not just not a compilation of night singles, but a proper album that you start. It's got a start and a finish, and it just takes you on a journey right through, which is what you want. And that will help you understand more about the artist or the producer and their work and how they are. So yeah, he's up there. He's, you know, in my opinion, he's up there. Just on the mere commitment and consistency as well. 20 plus albums, it's not an easy feat, I can tell you. Especially when you're going into the detail. It can take time, you know. Back in the day where people used to take 2 years out of the business or a year out of the business and go and lock themselves away in the studio somewhere in a remote part of the countryside just to lock off and get your head in the space. You know, that was worth it back in the day, and I was always glad to you know, wait for an album to come from an artist or a group or that I've been following. And if they took time out to do that, then I was like, yeah, take all the time you need, because I know what's going to come is obviously going to be worth it, hopefully. So yeah, it's that kind of commitment, which I got a lot of respect for, and it, you know, it's one of the things that hopefully it's not dying away, but the use of musicians and the use of the software and, you know, actually being creative within those processes. You know, I'd just like it to continue. I'm hoping that it continues the way that, you know, that it should, and give us songs again. I like songs. I don't know about anybody else, but I like songs. You know, like I said, pictures. So basically, You know, when you can find an artist that you can follow, and they know that they're always going to take you on some kind of journey, that's very interesting. What else can I say about Lloyd? Wow, like I said, it's just a very, very committed character, or artist, should I say, to the thing, and it needs to continue, because it's a beacon. It can be a great beacon to some that are getting into the business for the first time, or they're just learning and trying to create a path. You know, we need these beacons. There's many of them out there. There's many people that, you know, are still, you know, out there doing their work and recording and taking time out. So the more it continues, the more we can kind of shine the light for the younger ones coming up, and they can find a way as well, you know, with their style and flavours, as long as it's got the values, you know, it makes sense. So yeah, that's it. What can I say? Lloyd Brown, respect you, sir.
We're centered? Yeah, right, we're good. I'm ready for my close-up now, Mr. DeMille. Pop quiz, where was that from? Yes, Sunset Boulevard, you're absolutely right. Okay, so right about now, I just want to conduct this making of video in a somewhat different fashion than normal. I had some questions sent in to me in voice form, and I've not heard the questions as yet. So they will be as equally of a surprise to you as they are to me as well. So I'm going to play them one by one. I've actually put them in the studio and they're set ready to go. So I'm going to play a question each and answer the question, and hopefully we get something fluid going on here. All right, so with that, let's have the first question.
Okay, so what was it that inspired you or influenced you to do the Untitled album?
Well, it was many influences actually, but there was one long-standing influence which never really manifested until this album, and it came in the form of a song which was sung by Ziggy Marley, and it was a tune called True to Myself, and it was taken from his Dragonfly album. And everything about that song reached out to me. It was where my heart was at. It was where my head was at. It was where my spirit was at within the music that I was making. Not to say that the music that I was making wasn't true to myself, but there was much more influences musically that I had embraced across my life, more than the reggae elements that influenced me as well. And what touched me deeply with that song, I mean, I actually made a video and played that song and literally burst into tears while I heard the song. That's how much that song impacted me. And the reason why that song touched me was because everything about it didn't have any reggae influences at all in my mind. Because when I heard it, you know, first of all, the drums, that all the instruments were vintage instruments, and they were played in a somewhat laid back funk style. From the drums, from the guitars, from the organ and the horns. They all had that vintage quality about that. And funk and Ziggy Marley, you wouldn't ordinarily put in the same sentence, but that song worked. And that song became the touchstone that helped Untitled to manifest. It was partly responsible for that. But it wasn't until I linked up with a gentleman named Justin Pinnock, who linked me via my YouTube channel on a video regarding Easy Keys, a plugin that I use in my studio setup. And to cut a long story short, he literally gave comment and basically said, you know, thank you for the tips and what have you, and you know, I've got some stuff to send you, what's your email address? And I gave him my email address, and then he sent me some of the tracks that he was working on. And I was impressed. But it wasn't until he sent the second group of tracks that I was so impressed that I said to him, I want to make an album with you. And that's how the genesis of Untitled came about. Next question.
Why did you call the album Untitled? Where did that name come from?
Well, it's a bit of an oxymoron, do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, having a song titled Untitled, you know? But the reason why the project was because the project had a working title of Untitled was simply because it was very hard to give it a title, simply because it would seem contrived to give those collections of songs a title, because the direction where I was going musically was so different from the norm that my fans are accustomed to, that for me to call it like a different chapter or different or a new chapter or a new corner would just, I don't know, it just make it sound contrived. So I didn't want to give it a title so that when the listener gets the album, they have no idea of what's in the album. But then when they start listening to it, then they will form the opinion as to what the album is to them as a piece of art, basically. Next question.
Is this a follow-up or continuation of the Therapy album?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. You could say so, because, you know, Therapy for me was exactly that. It was therapy for me, you know, coming out of a really dark period in my life and seeking solace in the very thing that sustained me throughout my entire life, which is music, you know? And the relationship between me and music being probably one of the few relationships that still stands today and that I still stand true with, you know? And yeah, I mean, it's fair to say that Untitled is you could say it's a follow-up to that. I never thought of it like that, but listening or referencing to Therapy in my mind and thinking about the Untitled album in its present state, it's fair to say, yeah, that it is a follow-up, because the album is making a statement. That is for sure, without a shadow of a doubt. So, you know, Therapy was like, okay, I'm getting myself together. Now I've got myself together. Untitled is, right, here it is. This is it. Next question.
Was it a conscious decision you made not to do a reggae track on this album?
Was it a conscious decision? Absolutely. Absolutely. It was a conscious decision not to basically lean towards reggae because of the last 25 albums I had made prior to this one. I made a conscious decision to make a different album, but still maintain the Lloyd Brown imprint. That was very important to me. And the Lloyd Brown imprint of any song is based upon the lyrical content, the writing of the lyrical content, the picture painted, you know, the words and the melodies and the harmonies that will, you know, that will bring broad, fine, medium-sized brushstrokes to the canvas, which is the piece of music to your ears, you know. So for me, you know, the art was very important in making a change from the norm, but still retaining the integrity of Lloyd Brown, as it were, in the presentation of the songs themselves and the meaning of the songs themselves. Next patient, same treatment.
How did you decide which track would start the album?
That was that was easy. That was probably the easiest production decision that I made. And it all came about. It all came about when in the midst of working with Justin and the production of his tracks and the production of my tracks on the album, I was in conversation with a lady called Maria, who's the head of operations in Jetstar Music. And she mentioned that her husband is a bass player. And I was intrigued by that and asked if she could send me links to his social feed and what have you. So I was sent the link, and one of the links was on a YouTube channel, and he was playing an upright double bass to a French lullaby, you know. And I literally watched the video and I looked at him playing, and he just had that look that says, I'm at home. I'm at home here. It's kind of weird, but he just really looked like he felt at home with his music and his instrument. But then all of that, but then it went up a notch when I checked out his other link, and that was to his Spotify channel under the name of Phantom Inc. And that was a group that he formed with his drummer. And the first tune I played of that was a tune called Man. And when I heard the tune, the first thing that came to my mind was that I'm getting some Run DMC Aerosmith vibe about this. I'm getting some Run DMC Aerosmith Walk This Way kind of vibes at that time. And I already made up my mind that I wanted to voice on that track. So in a way, I'm still retaining the rhythm-centric practices of my reggae counterparts as well as myself, but doing it in a completely different genre of music. And not only, you know, doing it on a different genre of music, but approaching it in a different way by way of rapping as opposed to singing. So it was a complete like juxtaposition, you know what I mean, to what people normally know me to do or know me for. But at that point, I had to find a way of actually presenting that song itself and kind of ease the listener in nicely. And I just had the idea of putting a skit around it based upon, you know, the talent shows that you see on TV, like, you know, Britain's Got Talent, America's Got Talent, and X Factor, all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to kind of do a little skit that bookended that piece of music. And that's exactly what I did. And then upon that, it was like, okay, this is going to start the album. There's no way this can basically go in the middle or the end, because it kind of defeats the object. Because calling the song I'm the Man is kind of making a statement from the get-go, you know what I mean? So it had to be put at the start of the album. So in answer to the question, it was easy. It was a natural decision to make. Next one, Senate Com.
Is there any rhyme or reason to the order of the track?
I like that. Rhyme and reason. Okay, so it's a throwback to one of my other albums. Is there a rhyme and reason? Yeah, there definitely is a reason. As with all my albums, you know, they all have to follow one another. I mean, some people, well, let me rephrase that. I take great pride in the ordering of my tracks. Because I come from a sound system background, right? You kind of have an idea of what to basically warm up with, you know, what's gonna be the meat and potatoes or the ital, you know, what's gonna be the main dish, and what's gonna be the dessert, what's gonna be like, you know, the selection that's gonna kind of mellow things down. You got the building up of the vibe. Then you got the main attraction. Boom, 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 boom. You got the main selection of tracks that's gonna be the nucleus of the album, let's say. And then you got the tail off where it just relaxes and brings you down, and, you know, just like, you know, when you go on a workout, you kind of do your stretching exercise and you go into the main exercise, and then you do your stretching exercise and kind of, you know, mellow oneself. What do they call it? Cool down, whatever you call it. But you know what I'm saying. That's basically, that's the method I use in terms of track listing. And I've done it for every album of my career so far, and it will never change. Track listing is important, ladies and gentlemen. Don't just slap your tracks on an album. Take the listener on a journey. Come again.
Why the varying genres of music on the Untitled album?
To simply show versatility, to show my influences. You know, I love reggae music, don't get me wrong, but I love music even more. You know, for me, music is music. Music is one of the most powerful forms of communication on the planet, you know? And for me, singing on a rock song is a way of getting the rock audience and getting to know me. You know, singing on a house and dance track, you know, is a way of getting other audiences to listen to me. But it's not just solely because of that. It's because, you know, I like the genre. You know, if it doesn't hurt my ears, I give it a listen. If it's a genre that I don't think I'm up to scratch with, then I won't do it. The genres that I have done, in a way, I was kind of surprised myself as to how I performed on those tunes, but it was based on the influences that I've always had that has come out in terms of the vocal performances across all 20 tracks. And they're all different. The one thing I noticed about the album is that every track is different. No two tracks are the same in any way. And that really, really surprised me. And that in turn was the case for not even trying to give the album a title. It was to bring about change in terms of how I am seen to be embracing music, you know, because I really think it's important to show people that it's not just reggae I listen to. I listen to all kinds of music. If it don't hurt my ears, it's worth a listen. If I'm not feeling it, I'm not feeling it, you know, but if it's not hurting my ears and I'm liking it, then I'm gonna go into it a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. But it's the overall influences I've had over the last 30, 40 years. You know, you have lovers rock music, you have roots music, you know, you have jungle, drum and bass, garage, house, which all derive from reggae. In my opinion, hip hop as well, derived from reggae music. So it's kind of like a natural progression. you know, to kind of go into the offshoots of reggae music and investigate how they are inspired by what we brought to them, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? And kind of give it love as well. Give the genres love too. Run the track!
When you started to figure out what tracks would be included, did you have a direction in your mind of where you wanted to go with this album? Or did things just fall into place by some divine intervention?
Well, it's a bit of both, because I knew from the project's conception that I wanted this album to be different. I didn't want it to be the same as what people are used to, because I find that, you know, when people get comfortable and when people get familiar, that's when, you know, the old adage, familiarity breeds contempt. You know what I'm saying? And for me, it's like, I didn't want people to feel comfortable to say, oh yeah, there's another Lloyd Brown album. You know, yeah, he's got another album he keeps releasing year after year after year. And I'm thinking, you know, well, you know, I don't really want to feel comfortable to be getting that back, as it were. Not to say that I don't get no love for my albums. Not to say I don't get no love for my music. But I did not want to have myself in a position where it's almost like, it's like the usual for me to come out with a reggae album every year, you know, with specific tracks aimed for specific people within, you know, from the album. You know, I just did not want, I wanted to get out of my comfort zone, basically. And I wanted to take people out of their comfort zone as to how they are used to hearing me. It was simple as that. And also, as the album was made, you know, it kind of made itself. The album kind of made itself. You know, I can't explain any better how that was, but it was. You know, that's how music is sometimes. Music can be generated through an organic way that it just makes itself, you know. Next question.
What do you hope is the outcome of these works?
What do I hope is the outcome of these works? Well, I hope that, you know, I hope that people embrace the album. Because I'm not a singles artist. I don't make singles per se. I used to. But albums for me are more or less my calling cards now. And, you know, for every year that I make an album, it basically adds another page or another chapter to the musical journal of my life as to what I was going through at that point in time. Do you know what I mean? You know, where my head was at, and, you know, the expression of what I felt and what I feel, you know? And I can't do that on one track. It has to be a collection of tracks. And the very fact that it's a 20-track album was a conscious decision to make, because I didn't want it to look like, well, yeah, I'm doing an 8-track album of different styles and this and that and just have it at that. No, I just wanted to give people the full 100 in terms of going from a journey from 1 to 20 at 100 minutes, taking that journey at 100 minutes across many different musical landscapes, but still retaining the Lloyd Brown integrity. Yeah. I forgot what the question was. I just hope that you full enjoy the album. That's all one can ever want. You know what I mean? Appreciate you love the album. Next question.
Is there a message you're trying to send to the world through this Untitled album?
Isn't there a message we want to send across all music? There's always a message. There's always a message. I think with Untitled, yes, it's a personal message, but then every message that takes up an album is personal, I guess, you know. But yeah, I mean, you know, the message is, well, here I am, bending a new corner, spreading my wings a little bit, you know, reaching out to a bigger audience, because at the age I'm at, I don't want to be doing what I have been doing for the last 38, 39 years. I don't want to be just on that treadmill, just doing the same old. That's just not me, you know. As a creative person, it kind of goes against the grain, pardon the pun. But I just want to keep growing as an artist. I think that's the norm. That's the norm, isn't it? You know, for one to want to keep growing as an artist, because that's what art is. Art is something that you create, right? It's not something that you destroy. I mean, you can deconstruct it in order to kind of appreciate, love the fact of how it came together in the first place, but it's not something you just keep in a category. You keep in one genre. You keep in one box. You know what I mean? That's not me, you know. I've been on the crescendo of change many times across many different albums, but I just felt that, you know, this was the time. And it was many other factors that helped me reach that point, reach that decision. So yeah, you know, that's the message. Right, next one.
Will this be a one-off album with a return to reggae, or do you see yourself staying diverse with the music?
That's a good question. It's a good question because I don't want to be seen. I mean, should I care if I'm seen as? No. Okay. Reggae is the bedrock for me. I mean, obviously, reggae is the bedrock. But then when you see genres like hip hop and how hip hop evolves, right? How it evolved from, you know, the late 70s to the 2000s and what have you. You know, hip hop has taken a journey. R&B's taken a journey. Pop's taken a journey. Music in itself has taken a journey, you know, and there's no doubt that you know, traditional reggae roots, lovers rock, rock steady, ska, dub, blue beat, they all have their place, you know, they all have their place. And, you know, the gatekeepers to those genres of music will always be, you know, will always be the shoulders that I rest on. But as an artist myself, I think it's necessary to take the music further. Maintain the message, but take the music further. Because sometimes, you know, as a musician, my ears can get tired of hearing the same thing, the same frequency. You know what I'm saying? That's just me. I don't know if anybody else kind of feels that way, but, you know, I like my ears to be awake and hear different sonic qualities, hear different rudiments and, you know, things that makes the music what it is and bring about the emotion that it brings, because that's the power. That's the power of music right there, you know? And it's something to be maintained and to a degree enhanced for me, you know? And you can't do that doing what I call the tick, tick, cup, tick, 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 cup on the same two card. You know what I mean? Although that has its place, but you're not going to make much of a difference by just doing that all the time. I mean, I love eating rice and peas, but I wouldn't want it every day for like 2 months. You know what I mean? Even though I like and I love my rice and peas. You see me? Next question.
Okay, I'm going to go off on a little tangent here. If you could have worked with someone in the past, so someone obviously that would be deceased, who would that have been?
Oh, why are you asking me that, man? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh man. That's a huge question, man. That's a huge question. There's too many. There's too many. Too many people. Too many people. Too many people. Across so many different genres of music. I can't even begin. I can't even begin to answer that question. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but I just can't begin. I can't begin. Even though like my influences have been Dennis Brown, for sure. In the latter part of my career, Buju Banton, his Till Shiloh album, major influence. And vocally, of late, it was in the 2000s, was John Legend, for sure. John Legend was kind of like a vocal latter day influence on me, for sure. It was on the track Can You Feel My Vibe on the Said and Done album that really kind of branched me out more vocally. And it was John Legend's influence on me. Yeah, for sure. But in terms of, oh my gosh, who would I work with? You can't ask me that question. I don't have enough battery in my Ford for that. Sorry. Next question.
Are there any artists on your radar you would love to collaborate with?
Yeah, there's a few. But they're not the obvious ones. I mean, there were artists who I would have loved to have worked with, from 2000 go right up, but I don't think I could work with them right now because of where they're at and where I'm at. Not to say that I'm in a better position musically than they are. It's not that. It's just when they were at their freshest and at their prime, and the power that they had vocally and musically at that point in time, that was the time I really wanted to work with them. But then time passes and people mellow out and you're not getting the same thing. Not to say it's worse, but you're just not getting the same. I can't describe it. It's like I'm weird like that. You know what I mean? It's not because of who they are I want to work with them. It's not that at all. It's simply the musicality that they bring. The musicality that they bring to the table. That's what inspires me. Whether you're a musician or a vocalist or a producer, it's what you bring to the table that inspires me. Not because you have a name. Because there's people that don't have a name that I would work with just like that. Because it's their talent that shines through. You know what I'm saying? But like the last question, I can't even give you specific answers and give you specific people's names because I just don't have enough time to go into names. And if I mention one name, people who I don't mention, they might think, well, I don't want to work with them. It just isn't like that at all, but it's just a case of when you hear them, when you hear me with them, that answers your question. Next question.
Any advice for up-and-coming artists, vocalists, musicians, producers, directors?
Yeah. And that is stay true to your craft. Stay true to your craft, and don't see the destination as the objective. Take pleasure in the journey as well, because yes, we're living in a very fast age where people's attention span is determined within the first 10 seconds of reading, watching, eating, listening, moving, you know. And within art itself, any aspect of art, whether you're a sculptor, you know, any aspect of art, it's that very thing that bears the most importance than having your works being seen in a museum, or having your song at #1 in the charts, or your works winning an Oscar or any other kind of award or a Grammy or such, you know. Because if you look on that and you don't attain that, and you say to yourself, well, I don't even want to do this anymore, then that means that you never had any integrity to the art itself, to the craft itself. And if you do have integrity to the craft, then, you know, disappointments are just going to be minor until better comes, you know, until you meet someone or you get involved with an organization or a company or a collaborator that's going to basically put you on the next level and the next level and the next level. You know, Tom Petty once said, if you do what you love and it pays the bills, that's success. Do you know what I mean? You know, not on the levels that, you know, some people deem success to be, but you're doing something that you love and you're paying the bills while you're doing it. And for some people, they wish they had that opportunity, you know? So being respectful to the art that you are in and remembering what, I'm going to quote Timbaland and say, remembering what got you hot, you know, making that hit tune, you know, making that movie, making that commercial, or making a piece of art that got viral, or people just love it to an extent, you know what I mean? And just not resting on your laurels in that respect, and trying your best to maintain that level, build on that level, and more importantly, to bring other people in and strengthen the foundations of what you're doing. You know, that's just as important, you know. So don't see the destination, look at the journey, full joy the journey, and have integrity to the craft that you're involved with. Next question.
What do you like to do outside of music?
I was going to switch off there. What do I like to do outside of music? Movies, computer games. That's pretty much it. Movies, computer games, collapsing in the sofa. That's a good question. You know, I'm not a social creature, you know. I'm not a social creature at the best of times. You know, music has basically been the staple of my being, as it were, you know. And for me, you know, it'll be hanging out with close friends, but the majority of time I'm always creating. I'm always creating some kind of music, something, you know what I mean? And that just involves me spending more time on the creation of music. So when I do have to down tools, movies, I'm an avid movie buff, and, you know, I love watching movies. And also, you know, I get ideas from movies as well because of the soundtracks of the movies that I watch. You know, I take notice of that. I'm one of these people that read credits, you know. If I go on a date and I'm going to the cinema and I'm watching a movie, I'm not leaving until I watch the credits, because I want to see, well, who was the director of photography, you know, who was the B camera operator, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? So that if I see them in certain movies, it's like, okay, I recognize their style of work. I don't know, that's just me, you know? So I'm always, like, my brain is always ticking when I'm trying to relax anyway. So I hope that answers your question somewhat. Next up.
If you could no longer do music, where do you think you would transition into what field?
That's a good question. I think if I could no longer do music, it all depends on in what capacity I can't do music. It's like, if I can't sing anymore, then yeah, I can produce music. I can still produce music. But if music was just totally out of the question, I'd get into some kind of videography, you know. I would love to make a movie. I think that I'm capable of doing that, but it's just getting everything together in doing that. Because when you watch even a low budget movie being made, there's a whole lot that goes into it, you know. But that's not to say that I'm not willing to learn it, but you know, yeah, videography would be the way to go for me, you know, because it's another form of expression. You know what I mean? It's another form of artistry that is based upon expression. And I think music, movies, they go hand in hand, you know? They go hand in hand. Next up.
Okay, you find yourself stranded on a deserted island. What 3 things would you think you would want to have with you, that you feel would be the most important things that you would want to have with you?
Water, the Bible, what would be the 3rd thing? Of course, music. Water, the Bible, music. Window number 7, please.
You've decided to hold an intimate dinner party for 4. You are one of the 4. Who are your other invited guests and why? And they don't have to be involved in music. They could be anyone, dead or alive. Who are you inviting and why?
Wow. Well, one would be the Most High. I think he would be the only guest. I think the Most High would be the only guest. The only guest. To be honest. Window number 11, please.
Okay, once the COVID pandemic is over, where would you like to travel to? Is there anywhere in particular you would love to go? Say you were allowed to be touring again. What's your destination of choice? Or is that just something that you would have to sort of wait and see who wanted to see you?
where would I want to go once this plandemic, whatever you want to call it, is over? You know what? I haven't thought that far. I haven't thought that far simply because I haven't thought that far. Because I'm just living for today, you know. We're living in such precarious times right about now. It's like you don't know. You don't know whether today's your last day on earth. You don't know. You just don't know, you know. And for me, it's like that's all the more reason why I'm doing what I'm basically doing now at the age that I'm at now, because number one, I don't want to be, even if there wasn't any pandemic, I don't want to be doing the same things that I was doing a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you know, because this has brought about change, you know, much needed change. But in terms of where would I want to go, sometimes I would want to go to Edmonton. I can't even go down to Edmonton, you know what I mean? You know, I might just want to go up the road, and it's like I can't go up the road because it's almost like, well, you know, am I breaking the law? What am I doing? What am I doing? I just do what is best for me at this given point in time and just carry on creating, making music, and giving thanks that I can do that today. I can give thanks that I'm breathing today. I can give thanks that I have a roof over my head today. Today. I can only think about today, this hour, this minute. So I wouldn't even know where I want to go. But obviously I want to go somewhere, but who knows at this point, because with this COVID thing going on, you know, we won't get through this unless we all get through this. Next up.
Any parting messages for your fans, the people, the world?
I love you all. I love you all. Truly, I love you all, because if it wasn't for you, if it wasn't for your appreciation of what I do, which comes to me in so many different ways, from so many different directions, if it wasn't for your love and support of my work, I don't know what I'd be doing. I don't know what I'd be doing, you know. I want to thank you for sharing your experiences of my music and the place my music has in your heart, you know. I can't even begin to give examples, but I will try. I've had people say to me, Lloyd, I want to thank you for this particular song. You know, it brought me through a very depressing time. There's people that have said to me that my songs have basically carried them through a divorce. You know, I've had young people as well link me and say they love, you know, they love my music, you know, to the point where, you know, they feel at peace when they hear my music. They feel joy when they hear my music. They overstand the pain that I have, because it's the pain that they have too, you know, and they appreciate of the fact that what you see is what you get, you know. I don't crave the celebrity lifestyle. I don't crave that kind of attention, you know. All that I desire is that my music reaches as many people as possible. And that's not even relating to me even wanting to have a hit song anymore, but just a song that connects, you know. Having a song that connects, that don't hold no chart position, is still fine by me, you know. because that's not what I do the music for. That's not the expectation I have with music, you know. So I want to thank people for the love that they have for my works. And I want to thank the fans for getting the works. When I say getting the works, I don't mean physically acquiring the works, but getting where I'm coming from, getting what's in my headspace, you know. Even the way I write my songs, them knowing the reference points of certain lyrics in my songs, the fact that they get it is good, is great. It's great. You know, so my songs don't get lost in translation, you know, so it keeps me buoyant in doing more of the same in terms of the Lloyd Brown imprint, in terms of the lyrical content that I bring out. But the difference being that the music is taking a different turn. And I hope that you full joy this album once you hear it. And thank you, just thank you. Love you all, truly. Love you all, thank you.